Wow, guys. So the NFL has laid the hammer down on Kareem Jackson. He's been suspended for the next 4 games for the Denver Broncos. Let's take a look at this statement that was released by the NFL League Office. Kareem Jackson of the Denver Broncos has been suspended without pay for 4 games for violations of unnecessary roughness rules following this Sunday's game against the Green Bay Packers. NFL VP of Football Operations John Runyon issued the suspension for violations of rules such and such, which states that it is a foul if a player forcibly hits the defenseless player's head or neck area with the helmet, face mask, forearm, or shoulder. Keyword there, shoulder, even if the initial contact is lower than the player's neck and regardless of whether the defensive player also uses his arms to tackle the defenseless player by encircling or grasping him. The key word being the shoulder being used to hit the head and neck area of a defenseless receiver. That is exactly what was called there on Kareem Jackson. And yes, it was a bang bang play, but what was addressed here was that on the play in question, you delivered a forcible blow to the head and neck area of a defenseless receiver when you had the time and the space to avoid such contact. That's what the league was ruling there, and I kind of have to agree with that, honestly. I feel like he did have time and space to make a proper tackle, go low, and maybe try to just take him out that way as opposed to doing something like this, man. I understand that it's hard on defensive players, but you have to be responsible there for these plays, and you can't go to the head and neck area of a defenseless receiver. You could have made the contact with your opponent within the rules, yet you chose not to. Runyon noted that Jackson has had multiple offenses of personal fouls this season for violating player safety related rules, including a similarly flagrant hit in a Week 2 game against the Washington Commanders on tight end Logan Thomas, for which he was disqualified, and that one, in my opinion, was also warranted. It definitely was another bang bang play, but that one was also an ejectable hit on a defenseless receiver. Jackson will be suspended against Kansas City, Buffalo, Minnesota, and Cleveland, and will be eligible to return after the Browns game, the day after the Browns game. He can go and try to appeal this with Derek Brooks or James Thrash, and they'll be jointly, the hearing officers that were jointly appointed and compensated by the NFL and NFLPA to decide appeals of on and off field discipline. So I imagine K-Jack will likely get this reduced, maybe to 2 games or something like that. But you knew that the NFL was going to hammer down on Kareem Jackson. There have been a lot of players, current and former, out there who have defended Kareem Jackson on this particular play. It was a play that was bang bang. He lowered his shoulder, but as many officials and league officials will tell you, man, you have to be responsible for not making contact to the head and neck area. I don't care that he didn't lead with his helmet and that he led with his shoulder. Yes, 20 years ago or however long ago it was, that would have been considered a highlight level tackle, but at the end of the day, those are the kind of hits that the NFL is trying to eliminate from the game. It may be unfair on defensive players, I understand that, but by law of the land, Kareem Jackson was probably going to get a pretty harsh penalty here. You know the fine is probably also going to be pretty big. The NFL probably felt like, though, he just wasn't listening to the fines at this point. They had to act harshly. But I imagine Kareem will go in, he'll get this appealed, and he'll probably get it reduced down to like 2 games. Still, though, man, definitely sucks for the Denver Broncos. Thankfully, guys like PJ Locke have stepped up. Obviously, he got the game-winning interception for us in that game. So we have the pieces that are going to be able to step in for Kareem Jackson. Kareem Jackson's kind of turned into a little bit of a liability for the Denver Broncos at this point. I like Kareem Jackson and his aggressive style of play, but there's been many instances beyond this and beyond the penalties and the ejections, they have just been detrimental to the Denver Broncos. I like Kareem Jackson a lot, but he's starting to become a liability for the team at this point. All right, Broncos country, I'm curious about your thoughts on the NFL's decision to suspend Kareem Jackson for 4 games. Drop those comments down below, guys. I would love to hear your thoughts, as always. Be sure to leave a like on this video, as well as subscribe and ring the bell so these videos appear in your notification feed. I would really appreciate it, guys. Those are 2 free and easy ways to show your support for the channel. Helps tell YouTube's algorithm to push us out and helps us get seen by more and more members of Broncos country just like you. And until next time, guys, I am your host, Gage Madrid, saying peace out.